Welcome to the Global Wellness HQ family of podcasts. We are your international headquarters for resources and ideas and insight in relation to the 9 elements of holistic wellness. Join us as we interview local and international wellness experts and learn how you can implement and improve one element or dimension of wellness at a time. Our experts will share their practical tips on wellness in one of these core areas: emotional, intellectual, occupational, physical, environmental, financial, spiritual, social, or habitual. We created our family of podcasts as a resource for anyone who is looking to integrate the 9 elements of holistic wellness into their daily lives. Welcome to the show. The Global Wellness HQ family of podcasts is proudly sponsored by the Global Wellness HQ community. It's an online membership group where we meet, we share ideas, we share insights, and we all work together and help one another discover our own personal wellness journeys. If you'd like to join us, you can easily click the link below or scan the QR code, and we love hearing your stories. So we hope to see you in the community.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm really excited today to have Patti Scallan on the show. Patti, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Well, let's jump right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so as you said, my name's Patti Scallan. My business is Synergistic Health, and I got involved with alternative health 20 years ago, and it is definitely my passion. I work with people to bring joy and health into their life. For me, I had a holistic wellness center for 10 years, so it's been a very rewarding career. My first career was in corporate, and then I switched, and I'm very happy to be here because I get to help people change their lives, which is pretty exciting.
I love it. So, what do you do for your clients while you're changing their lives?
Well, I work with people if they have health challenges, I work with that. Maybe people just want to optimize their health. I work with that. I work with people that are interested in turning back that clock, living younger, longer, which is where my story came into play. And then I also work with athletes. So I can power their potential to feel better and to look better. And so that's been really, really exciting for me.
I love it. Now, let's back up a little bit, but what are you passionate about in life? What gets you out of bed excited every morning?
Honestly, if people that know me personally, I am obsessed with learning everything that I can learn about health. Like right now, I'm really focused on gut health, for instance. But gut health affects, it's directly related to depression, it's related to blood sugar, it's related to autoimmune. So that really gets me out of bed in the morning because I always start my morning with reading for about an hour. So I get all that information and then I share it with people I can share it with. And the reason I'm passionate about changing people's lives is because I got involved with what I currently do because my husband's health was failing and his life was changed in a matter of a couple months and it gave us back a life. So I want to be able to do that for other people.
I love it. And we'll come to that a little bit more, but the audience we have are entrepreneurs who are looking to age more gracefully. So I love asking my guests, we'll ask a business question and then we're going to get into the wellness. What would you say is the best business advice you've ever received, and how has it impacted you today?
I believe that it is about being of service to people. I think when you are of service to people and give them value, that's what being a good business person is. I have incredible, intelligent supplements, right? But I work with people about the pillars of health so that I can educate them on how they can improve their health while adding these other things. It's not just about a product, but it's about how they're living. Are they hydrating, or do they have good nutrition? Are they exercising? Things like that. Like I try to really educate my clients.
I love it. And I think education is so important. one of my favorite sayings used to be fall in love with the problem, but I've now changed it to fall in love with your client, because the more you obsess about them, the more you study them, the more challenges you can solve for them. So I think that's very timely advice. Now let's switch over to the wellness journey.
Mhm.
What would you say are some of the biggest mistakes you're seeing people making today that is impacting their overall wellness?
I believe today people want a quick fix, and they're willing to take a medication for the symptoms of what they're experiencing rather than find the source of what they're experiencing and then trying to correct it. And it's very sad because there are people that are taking medications, and then that medication causes a side effect, and then they have to go on another one. And so then it's just compiled. And so they're really not, it's sick care they're dealing with, not health care, right? So I think that people are not willing to invest in themselves. And I don't mean just money, I mean the time it takes to be healthy. And it does. Like when you said, well, you have a lot of people that want to age better. People can't see me. You can see me. Last week, I turned 70 years old.
Ah,
I take no medication. I kayak, I bike, I boat, I fish, I do everything that I want to do. I am fully engaged in my life. And, as I said, they can't see me, but you can. And you can tell them I certainly don't look or feel my age.
I would not have guessed 70 by any stretch.
Mhm.
Sorry, I probably would have put you at about 50.
Right. I get that often. I get that often. And what a blessing that is, right? That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I think that's, one of the reasons I started this podcast is, everybody just accepts that, there's certain stigmas that come with age. And, I see people around me who are in their 60s, and I'm like, I'm not looking forward to that. They've just accepted, and I hear a lot from doctors, oh, you're just getting older, you have to accept it. And, the other is, oh, you better start your prescription collection because you're getting
Right.
older now.
Right.
So
We don't need to be on medications. Our bodies were designed to heal themselves. So if you are having a health challenge, if you give your body the correct things, we can turn that around. I've seen virtual miracles in the years that I've been with the company I'm with.
I love it. And I think that's the biggest thing. And actually one of my other podcast guests, commented about, retirement communities and, when they bring in chefs and they keep feeding you the same thing that caused the ailments, nobody's looking at the diet, nobody's looking at other things. We're just, as you said, we want that magic pill that, make the pain stop today and we'll worry about side effects tomorrow. So
Right. Well, the saying is you can't put out a fire if you keep putting the fuel on it.
exactly. I love that. So let's talk about things people can do. So you work with athletes. I think that's an interesting space. What are some of the big pieces of advice? And it doesn't need to be, I don't want instant gratification, but what are a couple of things people should be looking at and accepting that they're going to have to change in order to age gracefully and get more life in their years remaining?
Sure. The first thing is they have to hydrate. They have to hydrate with water. Our bodies are like what, 70% water. If we're not hydrating all the time, then even our minds are not functioning like they should, right? And people think, well, I drink coffee or tea. Well, guess what? For every cup of coffee you have, you need to have an extra cup of water because that's actually dehydrating us. The other thing, the number one thing that has caused us a problem is sugar. If you go back years, back to the 50s, we didn't have all of these constant, you constantly hear about people having Alzheimer's and cancer and heart attacks and autoimmune. We didn't have that way back when. Do you know what happened? When high fructose corn syrup was introduced into our life. And then after that came the convenience foods, the processed foods. So I would say cut back and eventually out sugar, cut back and eventually out processed food that is filled with chemicals. I mean, when you think about it, would you take a spoonful of chemicals and put it in your child's mouth? But that's what you're doing with processed food.
Yeah.
Like, people actually want to ignore that, but it's a fact. It's a fact. So if you're constantly putting these things in your body, your body's going to react.
And I think that's, I saw a line in a movie where, somebody was a drug dealer, and they said, what I do is illegal, but if you look at the tobacco, the alcohol, and the sugar industries, that's all legal and unregulated, and yet sugar is more deadly than the drugs.
Absolutely, absolutely cause the inflammation. I just started reading a book, and interesting enough, they talked about our major pandemics that we've had, like the Black Plague, and then we had the flu of 1918, and then we had the epidemic of AIDS. And, there were 42 million or 40 million, 25 million. Guess what? Guess what the leading one is? It's obesity.
Yeah.
We have had 100 million people die because of obesity-related illnesses, mainly heart disease. That's the number one. And then you've got blood sugar, and, and we don't realize all of those pandemics, you add all the people that died from that together, and it's less than that. So people have to take responsibility for their health. They do. They can live vibrant lives. They can.
And I find it funny, we're a drive-through society, and I don't want to be brought down by the big drive-through companies, but I find it hard to call that food. They use the umbrella restaurant. There's very little actual food in their food products.
Right. There's no nutrients there for sure. And that's the same with processed food. That's what we have to understand. And see, advertising makes you think it is like, oh, well, it has extra vitamin D and this and that. They're dead products. They're dead products. So will they make you feel less hungry? In the moment they will, but they've done nothing to help your body be healthy.
And that's this is a little bit old, but I remember when the documentary Super Size Me came out, and it was like, holy crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We've gone down a really, really slippery slope, and it's showing up. I mean, when you think about it, and I'm much older than you, but we did not hear all of these cases of autism and Alzheimer's, and we would occasionally hear somebody that had cancer occasionally, but not like it is today. I mean, every time you turn around, there's another person that has breast cancer or like I said, Alzheimer's, all of these things. And it is because of well, it's not just what we're putting in our bodies. There's toxins all over. It's in our water, it's in our air. We put it on our lawns, so we're breathing it in. So some things we don't have control over, but we do have control over what we're putting in our bodies. And so at least if we can take that step, would be great. One of our flagship product is something that literally detoxes the body on a daily basis. That's pretty exciting, because although I do really well with what I put in my body, I still have to deal with environmental toxins and things like that. And so I'm grateful to have that as an option.
Well, and that's, I look out my living room window, and, way in the distance on the horizon, we have an oil refinery. And every day I'm like, what are we breathing from that? You see the different colors of smoke, and, some days it's just steam, but, what is that steam carrying? Other days it's just deep charcoal black. And it's like, what did they do differently today?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
you're breathing that in. So let's talk about what working with you might look like. What's an example of a couple of client outcomes that you're seeing? And, obviously you're living what you preach, but let's talk about a couple of client outcomes.
Okay, so first I got involved with this particular company because my husband's health was really failing. He was losing all of his muscle mass. He had extreme discomfort in his hips, his shoulders, elbows. I mean, we couldn't even go out to dinner because he couldn't sit there for 45 minutes, right? He had no energy. And I tried to encourage him to go to the doctor so we could find out what was going wrong. And he wouldn't. You know, men don't like to go to the doctors, but I finally convinced him to see a functional medicine practitioner. And we established he had type 2 diabetes. And it had gone undiagnosed for so long that the inflammation in his body, it just ravaged his body. So quite frankly, she said she could turn this around in 3 months, and we gave her thousands of dollars to get him out of pain, and it didn't happen. So after that, I was introduced with the company that I work with, and I understood the technology. It is a medical breakthrough, pretty exciting. It's native to the body, so it was safe. So anyway, we got him on this, and within days, he started to feel a little better, not a little bit better, a little energy, a little less discomfort in his joints and all. But in 2.5 months, he was pain-free. And so now, 6 years later, he never took medication for his condition. He too doesn't take any medications. And what we do is we nourish our bodies properly, and we use these intelligence supplements that actually help our bodies communicate better so that they can utilize the nutrition we're putting in. So that is one situation. I have another business partner that had Alzheimer's 12 years ago, and she no longer has it. She just finished her 3rd book last year, put it on Amazon. So that's pretty exciting, right?
Wow.
I had another gentleman that, I try and be a little cautious about the words that I use. With my own husband, I can state what he had, but this man had bad cells, right? And, in less than 2 months, when he went back for scans, he was clear. It was life-changing. So that's what I mean when you can change somebody's life. But I've also worked with people that were just totally exhausted, right? And if I can educate them on how to turn that around and then incorporate these intelligent products, their life can be changed in a short period of time.
I love that. Now, you mentioned your work with athletes. So again, not naming names or anything like that, but what are the things what are they complaining about? What are they recognizing they need help with? And
Right.
how is that turning around?
Sure. So actually, we have gold medalists that are involved in our company. We have Ironmen, but we also have our own, people that just work out, where if you're on the Peloton and you were able to do 30 minutes, now you're able to do 60 minutes. Why? Because our products increase the endurance, and then it cuts back on their recovery time. So that's pretty exciting. Like, they'll use this right before they work out. And that has been an amazing thing. Plus, because it's native to the body, like our Olympians, those that get tested, it's clean, so there's no problem with that either.
Love that. So how can people work with you? What is working with Patti look like, and how can people get in touch with you?
Well, when I first meet with people, I want to find out, what are they experiencing? What do they hope to accomplish? My goal is, if they're taking medications, my goal is to lessen them, if not get them off of medications, because there's not a medication out there that doesn't have side effects. So working with me means working to get you off of those medications. And then, as I said, be able to fully engage. So I do find out, are they exercising at all? What are they eating? How can we change what they're doing to create that optimal health, right? Because you know what? My products are phenomenal, but if you're going to still put that fuel on the fire, you won't have as good, you'll have results. You will have results. But if we can show you how to live more healthy, and it's not like, you have to make all these changes at once. Each little change will make a difference. Small changes have big impacts. It might start with just drinking so many ounces of water a day could change your life. When people have memory issues, it's simple as drinking water and healthy fats can change that. It can really change that. So there are just a plethora of things that I can help people feel better and look better.
I love it. So what would be a trigger point when somebody says enough's enough? What kind of things are they going to reach out to you for?
Well,
I
as I
guess,
said, I focus on gut health, and
yeah.
blood sugar issues are, I guess, just special to me because that was our issue, right? But autoimmune, our products, they're cellular. They work at the cellular level. So there's not a health challenge out there that we haven't had results with. Does that mean everybody's going to heal out of the gate? No, let's find out what else is going. How did you get this to begin with, right? What started that? So working with me, I do it from a holistic point. As I said, I've been here 20 years. I have a lot of knowledge in this field. So it's not just about selling you a product and saying, see you next week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, and early on in the conversation, you mentioned gut health. What was you were doing some research. What was your biggest takeaway from it so far? And I know it's early days, but what's your big observation so far?
Well, everything's related to our gut. Everything, right? When people talk about depression, it's gut related. When they talk about leaky gut related. When you're talking about all of these autoimmunes like fibromyalgia, things like that, gut related. Our gut is our second brain. It's directly connected. If we can clean our gut, if we can have a healthy gut, a lot of these things won't happen. I mean, our immune system is in our gut. We have to have a healthy gut if we want to have a healthy life. And it's just, unfortunately, like I said, people will say, well, it's just much easier to take a pill. Well, yeah, it is. I'll be honest. It is much easier to take a pill, but you will pay a price for that.
Well, and I would argue it's easier today to take the pill, but over time, there's no medication where they don't up your dosage, the side effects don't get worse.
Sure.
Um, I'm absolutely fascinated. I've never really done a lot of research, but what I'm finding is today, there's so many articles on brain issues, health issues, and the dementia, the Alzheimer's,
Mhm.
even things like fogginess and confusion, all linked to gut health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing, like dementia is different than Alzheimer's. Dementia is almost like a buildup of plaque, right? Like you would with your heart plaque.
Yeah.
Dementia, I mean, Alzheimer's is your brain's on fire. It's inflammation. Well, let me help you get that inflammation out of your body, right? It's going to help your brain, but it's going to help your body also. So, with ours being cellular, we're talking about genetic pathways, the cardiovascular, the hormonal, the immune, the digestive, the inflammation. Let's get that pumping, right? And then we can be healthy. We'll get rid of that brain fog.
Yeah.
We can get rid of brain fog pretty quickly.
And I think that's, so many people, again, they turn to the things that caused the problem in the first place. I remember from Supersize Me, there's, the blood sugar reactions to fast food,
Yes,
all of a sudden, an hour or two later, you're craving the thing that you just had that caused the problem.
sure.
So I think
Well,
cleaning and detoxing is huge.
sugar is much more addicting than cocaine, believe it or not. And people don't understand that. They don't. And they think, well, I can't possibly cut out sugar. But here's the truth. As you begin to cut back on that, those things won't appeal to you anymore. They really won't. It's not to say you can never have a piece of cake. Of course you can, but you won't desire that all the time. Once your body adjusts, your body, believe it or not, will crave healthier things. It is a process, but I know that it's true. I mean, I honestly would much rather have, I know this sounds crazy, but I would much rather have a fabulous salad with some protein on it than have a piece of cake. And that's the truth. But I've done the work to get there.
Love it. And I think that's something, I've done some big detoxes in the past, and it's amazing, but the fresh food actually tastes better, and you
Yes.
start to, I'm gonna say, recoil. Like sugary stuff tastes weird but when you're drowning your taste buds with soda and all these other, these incredibly sugar-rich coffee. It's not just the coffee anymore. Like, I'm sure it was unhealthy when people drank a pot of black coffee back in the day, but now you're drinking a coffee with, 2 cups of cream and 5 cups of sugar in it. So,
Oh, one can of soda has what's equal to 9 teaspoons of sugar. Think about that. Would you put 9 teaspoons of sugar in your coffee? Would you? Well, no, of course not. But that's what you're drinking in that one little can of soda.
yeah.
I mean, we definitely cause our own problems. And then, you don't really want me to get started on those things where, the coffee shops that have all these drinks that are basically 1,000 calories in one cup of coffee. That's
Yep.
pretty scary stuff. I just talked to my husband last night when you think about it, when I talked about the introduction to the high fructose corn syrup and all. And recently there was, and I think it was on LinkedIn, there was a picture posted of a family on the beach back in the 50s, and everybody on the beach really were slim. The children were slim, the parents were slim, everybody was. And then they put a current picture up there. 75% of people in the United States are overweight.
Yeah.
They are. And a lot of them qualify as obese. That's pretty impressive. And why is that? It's the sugar and it's the processed food. That's what it is. And we've gotten more sedentary too, for sure.
Yeah. And it's also the hormones and things like that. One thing that disturbed me, I saw a video, and it was chicken farming in the 50s, and they showed what a chicken then looked like.
Right.
And now you see, the genetically modified, hormone-induced chickens we have today. And it's like, that's not the same animal anymore. Like
Yeah.
they've
Same
got,
thing with vegetables, certain vegetables, like
yeah.
one of the ones that were my favorite was corn on the cob, but they're GMO. I mean, you're ingesting chemicals. So we do have to be careful. And I know a lot of people say, well, organic is expensive. Is it? Compared to, you know what I mean? Like when you think about it, if you're buying organic vegetables and your body begins to like that, you won't be buying the boxes of cookies and potato chips. So it's not expensive in the long run. And
Yeah.
my thing is you will pay for either sick care or health care. Which would you really rather pay for? So when you talk about the disruption of our hormonal system today is horrible. And it's because there's hormones. There's even hormones in some shampoos and things, but certainly in the foods, the cows, and the chickens and all. And I am not a vegan. I love meat, but I buy grass fed. I do. That's what I buy. Because we're eating those hormones and everything. This is why there is so much disruption. I mean, really, when you think of our young children and going through puberty at a much younger age, well, that's because there's hormones in their milk and in their chickens and in their food that they're eating. So it's changing their bodies.
Well, I heard there are certain conditions, predominantly as we age, where if we're having a lot of these side effects and ailments, one of the triggers is the hormones specifically in feathered animals. So in the bird, whether it's duck, goose, turkey, chicken, whatever it is, a lot of cases they're finding people are getting better just by giving up the poultry.
Oh, interesting. I've never read that specifically. Interesting.
I've heard it from a couple of people that very specific, and I don't want to pretend to be a doctor, so I won't get into the ailments, but a lot of cases it's aggravated by the specific artificial hormone that's used in that particular industry. So
Mhm.
now I could talk to you all day about the detox side of things, because I think for me that's one of my big things is how do we get rid of the stuff we've taken in? How can people get in touch with you and learn more about what you're doing in the company you're working with?
Well, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm active there every single day. And then also my website, pattiscallan.com. I make it pretty easy. They can see a little bit more about what I do, and also my contact information would be there.
Excellent. Well, Patty, it was a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time and thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our show. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we invite you to either click the link below or scan the QR code to register and listen to other episodes of our podcast. Or if you think your business or you would be a great guest to be on our show, we're always looking for experts in one of the 9 elements of holistic wellness. We'd love to have you. You can either click the link below or you can scan the QR code and complete our speaker intake form. Thank you, and to your wellness.